Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Yoruichi, Tia, Nelliel and Konan. Part 1. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time let's get into the video. The Elemental Nation was a war-torn nation, suffering years and years of war and conflict. From the Great Clan War, which led to the birth of shinobis, to the current Fourth Shinobi World War, but we'll get to that in a little while. For now we will go through the histories before the birth of the Elemental Nation. This nation, whose original names has been lost in the annals of history, has been in conflict way before it was conceived, so much so that it would take an act of divine intervention to end the conflict. And such intervention did happen by a goddess. This goddess name was Princess Kaguya Otsutsuki, but the thing is, she wasn't a goddess at first. Nope, she wasn't. She was the head of the Otsutsuki clan, a clan that some speculated to have originated from another world, having arrived to the planet about 1,000 years ago. Any more recording of this ancient clan was lost in the sands of time. Kaguya Otsutsuki, a woman who possesses very delicate facial feathers, extremely long, sweeping white hair that touched the ground. The most noticeable were two horn-like protrusions on her head, but not all means did this made her less attractive creamy white perfect skin, a figure that a lot of women would kill for, and firmy cup breast. She wore a high-collared hime kimono which was adorned with intricate lines and tomo running down the center and edge of the gown. Kaguya longed for peace, for her war-torn world sought out power necessary to end all the conflict and finally bring peace to her world. To attain such power she defied an ancient law, she consumed the fruit of the Shinju, the god tree that is said to be connected to the very root of existence itself, the very place where time began. Using her newfound powers, Kaguya single-handedly ended the wars in a single day, and anyone that stood in her way meet a swift end by her Tamagarashi no Hakatsu, all-killing ash bone. A certain kill technique, when these bones hit anything living, the bone and target starts to deteriorate at a molecular level, rotting the victims and reducing their bodies to nothing more than a pile of ash. For her action, she was worshipped. As the Usagi no Megami rabbit goddess, you could even say she was the first, a primal being that transcended the bounds of flesh into divinity. And had settled down amongst mortals, as she would eventually get pregnant, without a husband, and bear twin sons, Hagoromo and Hamura. Hagoromo inherited the Rinnegan Sakurai. But that one would be able to manipulate all the elements, sub-elements, gravity, see in a 360 perspective, yin, darkness, and yang, light. This eye originated from Kaguya's Rinne-Sharingan Sakurai copy Wheel Eye. And Hamura inherited the clan's eye's Tensogen reincarnation eye. But what it could do was lost within the clan's history as well, but it was theories that it could be similar or perhaps stronger than the Rinnegan eye. As time passes, however, Kaguya began to lose trust in mortal as the power she now held ultimately corrupted her, and how the people itself slowly treated her with contempt really didn't help much, and she was alone to hold the burden of mortal hatred. This led her to madness as she created her ideal peace by trapping everyone in the illusionary world of Mugen Tsukiyomi Infinite Moon Reader and converting them into white Zetsu, which really cemented her stature as a demon. Her two sons rebelled against her. Her response, Kaguya incarnated together with the world Shinju to turn into the monster known as the Jibai Ten Tails and the Aim no Hitatsu no Kami One-Eyed God. After long and grueling fight, which led to the reformation of the world itself and half of the population was wiped out from existence. The monster rampaged throughout the lands until Hagoromo and his brother managed to defeat the beast. The two brothers separated and absorbed their mother's powerful chakra, while sealing her body to form the core of the moon, and with Hagoromo sealing the Jibai into himself, and became its Jinchuriki, the power of human sacrifice, causing him to be revered as a god for the virtue of his victory. Becoming known as the Rikiden Sennin Sage of Six Paths, Kono yo no Kikusaishu savior of this world, along with his brother. Researching his mother's technique, Hagoromo was able to free the rest of those who were affected by the Mugen Tsukiyomi. Later, with his knowledge of the concept of chakra, the power of physical and spiritual energy, to everyone in the world as well as spread his ideals and religion, ninja the technique of this were meant to give people a better understanding of themselves, as well as other. And lead the world into an era of peace. Unfortunately, ninja would eventually come to be known as ninjutsu, a more weaponized version of the sage's teachings. Hagoromo exemplified his teaching by distributing chakra meant to connect people's spiritual energies with one another. It would allow people to understand each other without communication and pray for one another's safety. However, people didn't use the chakra to connect with other, but to instead connect their inner spiritual and physical energies with other, but to instead connect inner chakra to amplify it and transform it into modern-day ninjutsu. It was Hagoromo's belief that no one's chakra should be so much greater than any other. If the power is accumulated into one person, that power, then it increases the possibility that the person will become arrogant and desire even greater power. In the end, they ended up using their chakra in battle, just as his mother did. Knowing that goal of peace would never be achieved in a single lifetime, he chose to entrust his dream and legacy to his two sons and began to teach them ninja. The oldest son, Indra Satsuki, was acknowledged by Hashirama as a true prodigy who quickly began revel in his natural prowess and became very solitary. The younger son, Asura Satsuki, proved to be the exact opposite, having shown no special abilities or natural talent, but he pushed on through his limitations, growing stronger and more mature because of his struggles and making friends with others along the way. This led to different idea by the two brother regarding peace. Indra believed that force and strength is the ultimate key to peace. Asura believed that love and cooperation were the true keys to peace. Hashirama agreed with his younger son's belief and named him his heir and was inspired by his younger son. The sage separated the 10 tails chakra within his body and used his Banbutsu SMZM creation of all things ability to divide it into 9 separated bodies, creating the big-tailed beast. The Chibi no Tanuki one-tailed raccoon dog, a wild and short-tempered individual, and often speaks in a bombastic and incoherent manner, giving it the demeanor of a drunken madman. Also expresses pride as it uses or-sama or my esteemed self when referring to herself and holds great confidence in its own abilities, especially its absolute defense, and a very violent individual, often butting heads and picking up fights with her siblings. Nibi no Nico two-tailed cat, a respectful and polite, speaking in a formal manner using watashi when referring to herself and using honorifics when addressing others. But it is also a playful, temperament, and lustful individual. Sanbi no Kame three-tailed turtle. Though it resembles a large turtle, it has a crab-like shell with spikes all over its body and 3 shrimp-like tails. And often speaks in a timid manner, referring to herself as Boku, which is usually used by young kids. Yanbi no Seru four-tailed monkey, a prideful individual, but respects other who earns its respect, such as its siblings and her father, and a sage like its father, but also very laid back. Gobi no Yuma five-tailed horse primarily resembles a white horse, but with a dolphin's head, a quiet and reserved individual. Though it does not speak much, Gobi uses the old-fashioned watakushi when referring to herself, cause it to come across as very polite. Preferring to seclude herself, and it is a pacifistic individual, but still has the pride of a bitch. The Kubi no Namakuji six-tailed slug, she is kind and not as self-serving as her siblings, often acting as peacekeeper of the group, but not above using force when necessary to both stop an ongoing or soon-to-be squabble between her siblings. Nanabi no Kabutamushi seven-tailed rhinoceros beetle, she is a happy-go-lucky individual, which could be the fact that she has 7 tails, since 7 having long been seen as a lucky as well as a happy number. She also had a habit of using the word lucky in conversation, reflecting its personality. The Chibi no Kaija K-tailed ox, resembling a giant ox, but its tails resembles a squid's tentacle. She is characterized as relaxed, tough, and serious individual, but with a slight of a short temper, with good bipidical ability, and speaks in a somewhat rude dialect. With a no-nonsense demeanor and often argue with the last bitch. Hikbi no Kitsune nine-tailed fox, among the 9 she is the closest to her father and often points that out, a cynical and shrewd individual, along with a somewhat twisted sense of humor, prideful and arrogant, but still cares deeply for her siblings in her own way, deceitful, manipulative, and tricky as any other foxes. And like Nibi, a very seductive and lustful individual. But unlike the cat, she is more refined and reserved in her taste. As a result of the extraction and creation of the big them all at once, Hashirama was left weakened and incapacitated for several months, though the power life force of the 10 tails husk kept him alive. Sometime after their creation, the young tailed beasts were told that they were all still linked to one another, despite being separated entities. Hashirama also told them that they would eventually become one again, yet not as they originally were, and that one shall appear at that time to show them what true power is. Hashirama eventually sealed the husk of the 10 tails within the moon, resulting in his death, and his brother Himura and the rest of the clan departed to the moon in order to guard their mother's sealed remains. On his deathbed, he chose Asura to be his successor, but Indra, overcame by bitterness and envy, fought against his brother, with their conflict and wills would continue to their descendants, the Senju, descendants of Asura, inheriting Asura sage ability with the power of Monkton would release and enhance ability through the clan head Hashirama Senju, and the Uchiha, descendants of Indra. Inheriting the Sharingan copy we lie through the founder of the Uchiha clan, Madara Uchiha. And their conflict later gave birth to the Elemental Nation and the Hidden Lands. Konohagakure, the village hidden in the leaves, Sunagakure, the village hidden in the sands, Iwagakure, the village hidden in the rocks, Kumagakure, the village hidden in the clouds, Kurigakure, the village hidden in the mist, and Yuzushi-Agakure, the village hidden by the whirling tides. This also led to the Bij being captured and sealed into individual that would come to be known as Yinchkriki. Unlike Hashirama, they were viewed as nothing more than weapons and social outcast, often being mistreated and shunned by their own village. It is also worth mentioning that a Bij is often sealed into a newborn child, since its coils have not fully developed and could intake the Bij Simki. Each village gained their own Bijk to divide the power among the villages. Konoha gained both the 7 and the 9 tails, with the former being given to Takigakure, the village hidden by a waterfall, as a trust pact by Hashirama Senju, the lateral being sealed into Mito Uzumaki, the wife of Hashirama Senju, making the Uzumaki and Senju distant relative. After the fight between the two founders of Konoha, Hashirama and Madara, Suna gained the 1-tailed, Iwa gained the 4 and 5-tailed, Kiri gained the 3 tails and 6-tail, and Kumin gained the 2 and 8-tailed Bijk. This made the Bijk to hate and resent the people of the elemental nation for enslaving them and using them as nothing more than weapons. But peace was short-lived, and the second great shinobi war started by none than Madara Uchiha, who was shunned by his own clan because of his desire and want of power, which only fueled the curse of hatred in his heart. But this ultimately leads to him and Hashirama's epic battle, which also lead to his wife becoming the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. After the war, it seems has finally settled in, but it wasn't very long before the flames of conflict ignited and lead to the third great shinobi war. And the rest had been manipulated by Black Zetsu, the negative will of my mother, which started the fourth great shinobi war. Black Zetsu, as you know, manipulated my son Indra and then Madara for the goal to revive my mother and once again enact her plan. A tall and pale-skinned man who had deep wrinkled in his elderly age, but eyes spoke of wisdom and power. This person is Hagoromo, as he gave his talk with an individual in front of him. This person had gold-spiked blonde hair, cerulean blue eyes, and 3 whiskers like marks on both sides of his well-chiseled face. Lean build, with no sign of fat thanks to years of training. First off, why all of this? Second, why are you telling me this? And third, why me? Asks one Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. Current Jinchuriki of the 9 tails and the rest of the Bijk, after he rescued them from a madman named Madara Uchiha and Obito Uchiha, a student of his father and best friend to his sensei Kakashi Hatake. No, I know why, you are here to offer me some sort of power to help deal with your mother by testing my resolve. Hagoromo nodded, confirming the blonde's words. Then in any case no, Naruto said sternly and turned around, missing the contemplated and shocked look from the sage of Sixth Path. Why, if I may asks, your friend has accepted my offer, but why not you? He questioned. Naruto stopped in his tracks and turned to the founder of Ninja. Let me put this in a poem, which when I think about it perfectly surmises everything he started. When the war of the best brings about the world's end, this tells of the war of 9 Bijk, the 9-tailed beasts to revive the 10 tails, as how Madara and Obito stated it, and now our world is about to end because of their selfish desire to escape reality and run away. The goddess descends from the sky, wings of light and dark spread afar, she guides us to bliss, her gift everlasting. This tells of Kaguya's returned, the goddess, with a spread of false hope and dreams, and her gift the Mugen Tsukiyomi, which both Madara and Obito believe would bring an illusion of a person ideal world forever. Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. This is what 3 seek, the power equaling to Kaguya, but their fates are scattered by conflict and war. We seek it thus, and take to the sky. One becomes the villain, one becomes the wondered, and last becomes the hero. You could say this is what happens with 3 individuals. Such as Kaguya becoming the villain, Hamura become the wanderer, and you Hagoromo became the hero, which continue to your sons. You become the wanderer, Indra the villain, and Asura the hero. Hashirama his descendant takes up his mantle of being a hero, with Madara taking up the mantle of both villain and wanderer, as he was outcast by his clan. Ripple form on the water's surface, the wandering soul knows no rest, but all 3 are still bound by a solemn oath, which is to seek the answer tighter. Once again, this question is what the key to peace is. There is no hate, only joy, for you are beloved by the goddess, hero of the dawn, healer of worlds. This means the prisoner, which Kaguya or rather her will, he moved to manipulate the events which lead to the return of his beloved goddess. Dreams of the morrow hath the shattered soul. He begins by manipulating the villain, your son and Madara, twisting them into the villain with the promise of eternal bliss or acknowledgement. Pride is lost, wings stripped away, the end is nigh, but as one successes, so does the never-ending conflict of not fulfilling the oath. My friend, do you fly away now? To a world that abhors you and I. All that awaits you is a somber morrow. No matter where the winds may blow as the war sends the world hurtling towards destruction, the prisoner, Black Zetsu, departs with newfound puppet Obito Uchiha and embarks on a new journey. My friend, you desire is the binger of life, the gift of the goddess. Obito is guided by false hope that the gift will bring bliss, and that oath that he swore to his friend, his love Rinne-Sharingan, to bring peace by illusion. Even if the morrow is barren of promises, nothing shall forestall my return, though now it is shattered, but they have met in death, which in a way fulfilled his own oath, but not the oath of the 3. My friend, the fates are cruel, there are no dreams, no honor remains, the arrow has left the bow of the goddess once more, the 3 are reunited in the great war, and now Kaguya has started her Mugen Tsukiyomi. My soul, corrupted by vengeance, hath endured torment to find the end of the journey. In my own salvation and your eternal slumber, this tells of how everything will end, with the three with one single event. Legends shall speak of sacrifice at world's end, the wind sails over the water's surface quietly, but surely it tells how all will end with one event, by single choice, and by one of the three Naruto finished. Then who are the three, the sage asked, truly intrigued by how the blonde interpreted history with a single poem, his mind trying to process how the blonde reached such level of intellect at such a young age. It could be because of the bond's harsh experience as a Jinchuriki, but that Itachi takes decades of discipline and understanding, he should know, it took him a decade to reach his enlightenment, but blonde in front of him seemed to have reached it at a young age. Can't you tell, he said, placing his right hand over his heart, the hero, as she believes herself to be his Kaguya, she believes she is saving the world by placing everyone in eternal slumber and turned them into white Zetsu. The wanderer is Sasuke, who had suffered the curse of his hatred and continues to find answers in his thirst for power. And me, I am the villain, he said as he moved his fingers counterclockwise as if opening something. Hashirama then felt the sudden boost of power from the blonde, and when he turned around, his eyes widened. There behind the blonde was the silhouette of his two sons, Indra, whose aura is black representing yin, and Asura, whose aura was white, representing yang. But what truly shocked the sage was the blonde's eyes, on his left was the Sharingan, and on his right was the Rinnegan. I've known this eyes since my first beating at the hands of the villagers. I searched for the meaning of these eyes and found out what they were. I've speculated it was because of the connection of my heritage. The Uzumaki can be traced back to, well, your mother, or it is possible that either my mother or my father may had Uchiha blood in them, as well as Senju blood for me to awaken both eyes. Naruto speculated on the last part, but he never really looked into his sins, but I feared that if discovered, it will only fuel their hatred. As the demon is becoming more powerful, and also might use me to breed more who could awaken this eyes, he stated, and stopped to see if the sage was paying attention. Seeing as he was Naruto continue, so I found a way to seal it, as in Uzumaki sealing is part of our DNA, you can say it's a unique trait we have to learn, understand, and master seals. So I sealed these eyes and 50% of my own power to complete my mask of ignorance, won that dream of acknowledgement from his village, by becoming Hokage, he said. So is this why you said no? Naruto shook his head. No, I believed power is earned. Because without power and strength, you cannot protect anything, let alone yourself. But I also understand that without people with you, would used his strength, but a hollow feeling of being on top alone. I choose to seal this power as I did not earn it, but it didn't mean I did not train in it, since I did not earn it. I desire power to protect those precious to my heart, with my own two hands, with the power I earn. I've earned the trust of your daughter, all 9 Bijk, and now they their strength. And with them along with me finally fighting at 100%, I shall save this world, he stated firmly. Then why do you consider yourself as the villain? If anything, you are the hero, Hashirama said in confusion. You sage, yet you cannot feel the world, he said, making the sage frown, and at his frown Naruto continued, the world is slowly dying, and what was stolen must be returned. I shall return chakra back to the earth, leaving only enough for the people of this world to survive with. This action will make me the villain since I took away something from them all, their power, he stated. Besides, I never belong, home treated me like an abomination and recently a hero, but how long will that hold? My friends are not much of a friend, only close acquaintances with the exception to 2, whom died. And me, I've lived behind a mask for so long that I have forgotten who I once was, and the person in front of you is nothing more than a husk. Naruto gained a faraway look before he continued. I've given up on love, on familiarity, on everything, but it doesn't matter now, the life of one for the lives of many and for the world itself. How could I say so, when I know I can do something about it, Naruto said with a sad smile on his face, accepting his face and truly embodying the term Jinchuriki. Hashirama was silent as he took in Naruto's word. Then what would you do when you confront my mother? Even with your vast amount of power, you cannot defeat her, he said. Naruto chuckled at that. Tell me, Hashirama, are you a son that gives what his mother wants, or what she needs? Seeing once again the confused look on the sage's face, this is just Naruto living up to his title, the unpredictable shinobi. I can sense loneliness, her pain, and longings. I understand her, probably better than her sons. I know what she needs to be saved, and I shall do so, or at least distract her long enough for me to seal her. With the help of the Bijk, Hashirama was once again silent. At look at the blonde, he could see both his two sons in him, both their wills and desire. And past it he could see himself and his brother. Deeper, and he could see his mother, not the insane being, but the kind, loving mother he once knew. I was wrong, he started. You are not Asura's reincarnation, but the reincarnation of both my sons. Their ideals, their beliefs, their will, all of it molded into one single unique individual. Please Naruto, I implore you to accept the gift I'm about to give you. I know you may not think you've earned it, but your ideals, your resolves, and your action prove otherwise, has proven otherwise, he said. In an instant, flashback of Naruto's greatest achievement appeared on a window-like monitor. The first was he defeated who became like a brother to him, Gaara, a former Jinchuriki and an insane psychopath in his Bijk form. The second is when he liberated a country and a nation, Nami no Kuni or the Wave Country and Haru no Kuni Land of Spring formerly known as Yuki no Kuni Land of Snow, Tsuki no Kuni Land of the Moon, from their tyrannical ruler. And that when he was just only 15, the next showed how he defied his fate by defeating Rim, a demon that was supposed to kill him and was predicted by Shiho Osiris, but with her help, he managed to defy fate and defeat the demon. The last was when he went back in time, saved a queen and her kingdom from a plot by a madman, that when he was 18 years old. Naruto smiled as he saw all his hard work and accomplishment. It also cemented his resolve and decision to save his world, not for fame, not for recognition, but for those who are precious to his heart. So what now, the blonde asked all 9 Bijk. We gave you our trust, Naruto, and our power. If anyone is worthy of father's gift, it is you, the 9-tailed demon said. Is this the conclusion you have come to, everyone? Yes. Naruto smirked. Fine, let's take a gander, shall we? I accept. Hagoromo nodded, and in an instant the room was suddenly blanketed in a bright light. Scene change. Kaguya smirked, her long desire for peace is finally coming into fruition. She had taken care of the duck-haired teen and the rest that dare get in her way. Peace is finally here, and no one is going to. She was cut off by a sudden weight of power, equaling if not surpassing her own. She turned to the source, only to see a boot coming her way. It was too late to react, and she was kicked into the ground, creating a large crater about 20 feet deep and 100-mile wide. Mother, get up, Black Zetsu said, from her right sleeves. The rabbit goddess looked up to see an individual floating up in the air, this individual wearing a silver-white long sleeveless full-length coat with 6 black magatama markings around the neck, 3 on the chest area and on the bottom, it over a short sleeves coat with black flame pattern, the middle is open, revealing a full-length haori. Revealing a black undergarment with black patterns on the shroud extending down the arms and legs, and on the stomach was a black swirling pattern. Behind the individual are 10 gold-colored Gundama truth-seeking balls, and holding a ringed staff with 10 points resembling a tail, Shakijim. But what attracted her attention were the individual's eyes. It is similar to her, with ripple-like pattern which spreads over the eyeball containing a pattern of 9 tomo, but unlike hers which is red-colored, this was dark crimson. Hello Kaguya Otsutsuki, Black Zetsu knows who I am, but you do not. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Bijk Senin-tailed beast sage. The individual identified himself and flared of his power, shrouding his cloths with dark gold chakra, and I have to fulfill an oath, he finished. Kaguya snared and in an instant fired her all-killing ash bone in a blink of an eye. Shinra Tensei, heavenly subjugation of the omnipresent god. Naruto spoke, blocking her infamous technique with ease. Before Naruto seemingly teleported in front of her and swung his staff down, Kaguya quickly created a black rod and blocked his weapon, creating a massive shock wave. Your chakra, I see, so Hagoromo who gave you this power, Kaguya deduced, observing Naruto's chakra network with her Byakugan wide eye, but I also sense my grandchildren in you, then I know what I must do. She quickly opened a dimensional tear and jumped back into it. And suddenly appeared behind the blonde and stabbed the blonde. But to her surprise he suddenly vanished after image, she thought, and dodge a Gundama too can play that game. She summoned her own Gundama and clashed with the blonde's own. The Gundama are spheres of malleable chakra. They are composed of all 5 elements, fire, water, wind, earth, and lightning, nature transformation and yin-yang release, the power of creation of all things, and are also capable of negating all forms of ninjutsu, can take any variant for either offense or defense, and can be controlled by the user's mind, like an extension of themselves. The drawback, the user starts with a set amount of balls and can only control them within 70 meters of their location, allowing opponents to separate them from the user by transporting them elsewhere. If they are not retrieved by the user or somehow get destroyed, they are permanently lost. Both Kaguya and Naruto once again clashed, all the while maintaining their focus and controlling their individual Gundama. To the normal eyes all they could see were shockwaves upon shockwaves in the air, as both their movements were too quick, even with a trained eye or a Dojutsu eye technique. We both seem to be in equal power, considering that neither of us have fully trained in using this power, or this battle would have been over long before it even started, thought both goddess and sage at once, oblivious at each other's thoughts. It wasn't a secret that Kaguya hadn't trained in using her immense power and used her experience of what she knows to control her power, but fully mastered in using it. The same can be said about Naruto, who was going in the battle with all his experiences in his training, so as it stands both are equal with one another. But experience and proper planning wins any battle. First I need to draw out all her abilities. So far I know she can manipulate dimension, use Gundama, and her all-killing ash bone. But that as far as I know, I have to assume she can use both the abilities of the Rinnegan, Byakugan, and Sharingan. But how far has she gone into mastering or learning is anyone guessed, or rather mine, Naruto thought, breaking down what he knew so far and trying to predict Kaguya's next course of action and come up with a counter move. Naruto may have trained in using his Dijutsu, but not fully since his Sharingan eye was in its first stage. The Sharingan needs to be activated by the user when they are faced with difficult circumstances or placed under emotional stress. In the case of Naruto, it was the lateral. To activate the second level, the Mangekyou Sharingan, the user must suffer from trauma after witnessing the death of someone close to them. But the user normally having to witness or experience this firsthand, Uchiha throughout have killed those closest to them in order to expedite this process, such as their best friend. But this ultimately leads to the loss of their eyesight, unless if they obtain the Mangekyou Sharingan of their closest relative, such as a sibling. The newly acquired Mangekyou Sharingan looks like a merger of both eyed and is dubbed the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Naruto lacked both requirements, such as someone close to him or a relative. So the blonde couldn't do any further than the level 1 ability, such as copying opponent's jutsu, with exception to Kekkei Genkai bloodline technique, see an opponent's chakra pathway, and predict an opponent's move by their muscle movement. And now, I don't know the extent of the changes done to my Dijutsu when they fused. I can still do the normal technique for the Rinnegan, but the Sharingan techniques on the other hand, I don't have a clue. Any suggestion, Naruto? Asks the 9-Bijk. Sorry kid, even when Madara forcibly used me, Kami, that sounds so wrong in so many levels. I could not distinguish how to use the Sharingan technique. There was a pause by the 9-tailed demoness. What? Naruto asks as he dodges a thrust from Kaguya's ash-bone spear. Unless you find the remain of the Uchiha, and Mitabi could use her ability to summon the Uchiha's dead spirit, and you can use the ninja human path and absorb the knowledge on how to use the Sharingan eye and any other techniques the Uchiha learned. Naruto was silent, but knew this was his shoot to have an edge over his opponent. All he needed to do now is create an opening, a distraction, and make sure Kaguya's eye and attention are solely on him. Well, clone spamming time, I guessed. With that thought, Naruto summoned thousands of shadow clone, making him wince in slight discomfort as his chakra control was not at 100% as his power, and this provided the mischievous fox and cat to enact their plan to help their Jinchuriki. Stop it right now, the 6-tailed slug was about to reprimand them, but it was too late. What are? Naruto felt his body moved on his own and his hands quickly form a hand seal. Borikjayaku H Rimyu no Jutsu sexy reverse harem technique. There was a loud poof sound, and when it cleared, the clones that surrounded Kaguya transformed into attractive naked men, thousands of naked men. What the hell? Naruto snapped at the 2-Bijk. This is not what he planned. He would use his clones and himself to attack Kaguya at once, while 2 clones searched the last place where they saw Madara and where Naruto felt Sasuke's last chakra signature. He knew his clones wouldn't stand a chance against Kaguya, since they contain only 20% of his power, and the primal used for his Kage Bunshin no Jutsu shadow clone technique were primarily used for training, since anything the clone learned prior to dispelling would be transferred back to the original, and distraction. She's distracted, isn't she? The 2-tailed cat defended. Now don't just stand there like stiff wood, hit her, the 9-tailed fox ordered. Naruto sighed and quickly summoned 2 new shadow clones and charged at the still distracted Kaguya. The blonde hit her in the stomach with his staff, sending her flying and crashing into a mountain. Dispel all of you, Naruto ordered, feeling uncomfortable being surrounded by his fellow gender, granted he knew they are him. It was still rather unnerving. At least she's distracted. Naruto's eyes widened slightly when he saw the mountain, where Kaguya crashed in, was hurtling towards him. Naruto channeled his chakra into staff and slash, sending a large crescent-like beam of pure chakra cutting the mountain in half. The blonde jumped back as large wood branch-like tentacles. The sage quickly cut several branches that got too close. Hundreds wood branch tentacle rushed at Naruto to impale him. Seeing this, Naruto formed a one-hand seal Katen. Menkuk fire release. Great blaze ball. Naruto exhales a meteor-sized sphere of fire that burned all the branches and caused a massive explosion. When the smoke cleared, both Kaguya and Naruto stood facing each other once more. An unspoken word was said between the two before they clashed once again. The white-haired goddess sent a volley of ash bone. The blonde either dodged or deflected each of them before his staff meets Kaguya's own. The sounds of weapon hitting could be heard in the once great valley. Neither opposition were giving an inch or any sort of opening, as their Dijutsu were able to follow and predict the other's movement in quick succession. Dawn. Kamikaze wind release. Divine wind. Kaguya quickly jumped back and releases a powerful gust of wind that forms several large tornadoes and quickly followed up her previous technique with Katen. Hibashiri fire release. Running fire. The fire release combined with her wind release to create a tornado of flames. Oten. Dorichmiki earth release. Earth-style rampart. This technique normally makes a gigantic rampart rise up beneath the user's feet, however the shape depends on the user imagination, and Naruto formed a large wall-like mountain, similar to the Hokage monument, but with all 9 Bijk instead of the previous Kage. He also had a reason why he chose to form it like this. Guys are ready, he asks all 9 Bijk. Yes. Came their combine replied. Inside his jutsu Naruto channeled several chakra-like hands into each of the 9 heads that molded. In each head, tiny balls of black and white chakra appeared and each hand worked to shape, each forming a dark purple sphere. The black and white chakra needs to be balanced at an 802 ration to properly form a Bijgama-tailed beast bomb. Each head fired of 9 identical Bijgama at Kaguya, said goddess eyes widen at the strongest attack of a Bij coming at her mother quickly. Black Zetsu was quickly silenced by her. I know. She snaps. Naruto saw a massive explosion creating a large dome of energy, decimating at least a radius of 72 kilometers. Good thing I managed to calculate the blast radius from the previous time. Fuzzy butt used her own Bijgama, he thought. I'll have you know my ass isn't as fuzzy as you think, or would you like to have look for yourself, Naruto-kun said. Fuzzy butt purred out seductively. Not now Kurumi, he snaps back, calling her by her actual name. Each Bij has their own name, and they only gave it to someone who has earned their trust, respect, or affection. Ooh, you're no fun Naruto-kun, Kurumi all but huff. Nissan, now is not the time for that, besides it ain't over yet, the 6-tailed slug said, and all 9 Bij turned to where Naruto was looking at. So she used her Gundama to block the Bijgama. Impressive, Naruto thought, seeing a large dome of black malleable chakra. Can sense a lot of chakra coming from that technique. It could possibly different from the regular Gundama he used, and his head ran 100 to 1000 miles per hour, thinking up on ways on how Kaguya could possibly use that technique. She could particularly use that to wipe out the entire world. No, she wouldn't do that, she's been obsessed with finishing her jutsu, and she wouldn't dare harm her nursery world. So, the other is shit. Naruto mentally cursed as thousands upon thousands of Gundama rained down on him. I won't be able to block that. Kaguya smirk from above. It's over, she thought invictoriously. If you think it's over then think again. Kaguya's smirk fell when she saw a large gold-orange colored armored humanoid-like avatar with 3 arms on both sides, 9 flowing tails, and 10 wings on its back. It looks so similar with Madara and Sasuke's Susanoo. The only difference is the wolf head, the 10 wings, and the 9 tails, and those markings. Black Zetsu thought. Allow me to introduce to you my Susanoo, Naruto announced as each hands held a Gundam long katana, while the rest of his malleable chakra separated and formed multiple rounded shield, increasing their size with a simple tug of his chakra. His mind quickly thought back to when his clone found both Madara and Sasuke. Flashback. Clone 1 Pav. While the boss was taking care of Kaguya, me and my fellow split up to 2 different directions. The last place where boss felt Madara and Sasuke's chakra signature at now. Where I found you, I thought, and jumped down at what remained of the once great founder and rival of Hashirama Senju, the lower half of Madara's body. Hope this works. Ij no Jutsu. Saishin Kamaru tailed beast technique. Spirit call. In a stream of blue and black fire, a man with a light skin with spiky black hair that a slight blue tint to it, an angular chin, and a fully matured Sharingan eye. He wore a crimson armor with numerous metal plated, forming a protective guards along his chest, waist, shoulders, and thighs, over a blue high-collared long-sleeve mantle that splits down the lower half, and a simple, light brown obi, and a bet. Hello Madara, I greeted, who could be the boss's ancestor. Naruto Uzumaki. No, you are a clone of Uzumaki. So he too has gained the powers of the sage. Heh, as I expected from my grandson, Madara said, confirming the boss theory of having Uchiha as an ancestor. Well, that solves one theory on how the boss has the Sharingan eye, but the Rinnegan on the other hand. It would only mean that either boss's mom or dad was your son, and their mother was a Senju. I asked on the last part. Seeing as I'm already dead and I assume the reason why my grandson chose to summon my spirit is to help him with something, my silence only confirms his assumption. Then to answer your question, my child is Kushina Uzumaki, but my grandson is wrong with one thing, he doesn't have Senju blood, only Uchiha and Uzumaki blood in his vein. The only relation he has on them is that the Uzumaki and Senju are relatives since Hashirama and the head of the Uzumaki clan decided to merge the clan together after my rival married Mito. Now as to how he received his Dojutsu, you see the Uzumaki and Senju were both descendants of Asura, so you can say both clans had more things in common, as were the Hyuga and Uchiha who are descendants of Indra. Madara started. At my silence he continued, it seems the combination of both mine and Kushina's mother DNA were able to mix in perfect unison, allowing my grandson to awake to both the Sharingan and the Rinnegan, but without a relative or anyone close to him. I assume he could only use the first stage of the Sharingan. But with both his Dojutsu combined, I can assume that both Dojutsu's properties change, and I can tell, as any other Uchiha, that the Sharingan portion is fully matured, and now my grandson is looking for a way to figure out the Sharingan's abilities by summoning those who mastered it and use the human path to absorb their knowledge. But since both me and Sasuke are dead, my grandson had to use a technique to call our souls, correct? Madara finished, deducing Naruto's plan and explain his lineage and how he gained both Dojutsu. Yes, I answered, not at all surprised that he figured out the boss's plan. This is after all Madara, a protege like his ancestor before him, and the man who single-handedly brought the world into 3 wars to meet his ambition. Yeah, you don't get to miscarriage and start 3 major wars. The third was still being speculated on whether or not Madara actually started it. Granted, he was manipulated by Black Zetsu, but the fact remains, without a level of intelligence. Very well, Madara said with a straight face. I blink once and twice, no 3 times, just like that. Not Goanna asks why I need this power, I inquired, confused at how easily he agreed. I trust as far as the boss can throw the entire elemental nation, so yeah. Madara sigh, since my grandson is going to receive this I might as well tell you. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha, as the last living descendant of mine and my former clan, so in hopes of not being forgotten I choose to help you, and this will also serve as my vengeance against the wrenched goddess, he stated. I nodded and used place my hand on his chest. At the same time with the second clone. Hello, Yu-chan. Dope. The 2 former friends greeted with their usual names. Should I explain or can you figure it out, I asked. Just get on with it, dope. Oh wait. What I asked as I was about to absorb his soul, creepy as it sounded, was all I could think of, and it is proper for this situation. Why don't you summon the souls of Hashirama, Tobirama, Kakashi, Sarutobi, Minato, and I suppose Sakura, since she bound to have something like medical jutsu, he said. Why? Sasuke sighed at my word and muttered something, because that way you can absorb their knowledge as well. I'm guessing that the jutsu eye of yours allows you to use Kekkei Genkai, such as Mokuton, you idiot, dope, and Sakura you can acquire some medical knowledge, and that super strength ability, dope. Honestly, don't you ever use that head of yours. I felt my left eye twitch and contemplated on whether or not to simply dispel the prick, but he did made a valid point, might as well. I quickly summoned their souls and quickly explained the boss's plan, since the pink-haired teammate of the boss didn't seem to quite get it. I see, well, if it's the only way to stop Kaguya then so be it, and beside I can see the will of fire brining brightly in his eyes, Hashirama said with a laid-back grin. The other, aside from Sasuke, nodded their heads agreeing with Naruto's plan and extended his hand. I agree, brother, carry our name, Tobirama said, extending his own hand. Naruto, I'm proud, you've become a splendid ninja, and I know your mother would agree with me, Minato Namikaze said, who looks like the boss, almost, without whisker marks, and extend his hand. I always knew you've become someone great, Naruto. I'm proud of you, Hiruzen, Sarutobi said. I could tell flashes of the time when both him and the boss flashed before his eyes, before he extend his hand. Kakashi sent me his famous eye smile. You know how I feel, Naruto. Oh, and I left you a souvenir your pouch when you weren't looking, and extended his hand. Naruto, thank you for everything and sorry for you, know, Sakura said, and I know what she was apologizing for. Well, dope, this is it, don't mess it up, Sasuke said with a slight smirk on his face. Hey, you know, in a way Team 7 rides again, I said, placing my hand over theirs and used the human path. Flash backhand and normal pav. So they passed their will on to me, and what is the souvenir Kakashi-sensei left for me? Naruto wondered on the last part, but shook it off for later. Right now he has a goddess to defeat, or rather give her a Naruto patent beat down as other called it as, and the blonde was oblivious as to why. It's the same on how oblivious he is with love as well. Even with the added knowledge, using them is going to be a bit of a problem, since I haven't trained in using them. Oh well, developing a plan on the go or in stressful situation is Naruto forte, and Shikamaru, who was hailed as the best strategist, commented on how great Naruto plan were, unpredictable, confusing, and chaotic. Something only the blonde can do. This also reflect on how he battles, a wild sort of dance that seem only he knows and can only do. It was like the blonde has his own little world that only he knows, making Naruto that much more dangerous as an opponent on the battlefield. Since Susanoo wasn't a ninjutsu but a pure chakra-given form, or rather body, combine that with his 6-path Sage mode and Biju mode, then you have a recipe for an unstoppable force of nature itself. Now let's begin round 2, shall we? Naruto said, his voice mixed with the other bijk, sounding a bit weird since it was a 1-to-9 ration of feminine to masculine. But somehow Naruto's deep and silk-like voice managed to balance the ration, so to speak. Kaguya narrowed her eyes and quickly formed multiple black blades from her special Gundama, grasping 2 in hand, and controlled the rest. She charged to meet her, she suppose, grandson. As if a scene from a movie, the sky was lit up with multiple clashing sparks and shockwaves as the two battled each other. Naruto brought one katana down and was blocked by Kaguya. He quickly followed with another, which was once again blocked, and the third, but that was also blocked by her Gundama blade, and the same happened with the other 3. It seems as if the two were still in a stalemate, but it wasn't. The blonde was simply stalling for a bit more time, thinking of a multi-stage plan, taking into account all the possibilities that could happen down to a T. If there was some kami of wisdom, I would pray my plan would work, he thought. First stage of his plan is to create a clone within his Susanoo and have it act as him. Second, while the clone and Kaguya was busy with fighting each other, Naruto could set up his trap and finish the seal that would return the chakra back to the world and capture Kaguya. Third is have the clone lure Kaguya into the trap and finish the battle. Simple but effective. Now might as well spam some techniques. Naruto had his Susanoo toss the blade into the air, but no mean he could not use them, he still could using with his brain and formed his signature jutsu, well one variation of it, and combine it with Bijidama. Ijkwakusei Rasen Shuriken Tailed Beast Planetary Spiraling Shuriken. A giant-sized Rasen Shuriken, which looks like a four-bladed shuriken and Fukma Shuriken to be precise, but unlike the normal Rasen Shuriken that has the Rasengan, a ball of pure chakra-shaped manipulation, it is the Bijidama, which is then surrounded by three regular-sized Rasen Shuriken. First distraction Naruto, then threw the jutsu hurtling towards Kaguya, who quickly formed a shield. Once the jutsu hit it erupted in an enormous dome of blue and dark purple energy. Next separation the blonde summoned a blood clone, a stronger variation of the Kage Bunshin, and handed him control of the Gundama blades and Susanoo before separating himself from it and flying a mile away from the battle, taking care to mask his chakra signature as he did time to set up the traps and seals. Naruto quickly took out several pieces of paper, but stop. These papers won't be enough, he cursed his carelessness, no his idiocy, he wore a mask of ignorance for so long that his personality has been affected by it. Maybe I could provide assistance, a stoic voice said. Naruto turned around and his eyes widened in shock. There standing in front of him was a tall woman who had short straight blue hair with a white paper flower on it, grey amber eyes with lavender eyeshadow, and elaborate piercing. Konan, I thought you were dead, Naruto said in surprise. I thought so too when I floated down the water, but some of the orphans of AIM managed to rescue me. But I was left in a coma, and when I awoke I learned that the fourth shinobi war has started, but due to my weakened state, I could not make it into the battlefield to help. Konan spoke in her usual stoic voice. But Naruto could hear a crack in her voice. She must have felt hurt when she failed to protect Nagato's body, and she might believe because if this she wasn't able to stop a war from happening, the blonde mused grimly. But how were you able to escape the infinite Tsukiyomi? I was able to avoid the light by encasing myself in my paper dome, that in my chakra is not what you called normal. Naruto raised an eyebrow and sensed her chakra. Indeed her chakra was different, almost like a Jinchuriki. No, a pseudo-Jinchuriki. A pseudo-Jinchuriki is someone that possesses a Bijkinki, but not the beast itself. So far Naruto knew of one person, Sora. How do you think my appearance looks of a young woman when I could be old to be your mother or grandmother, she said. Naruto was silent for a moment before he spoke. When you and the Akatsuki were extracting the Bijk from their Jinchuriki, some remnant Imki remain, which were sealed into your body, he said. Konan nodded yes. Nagato used his Jed Mouter Path technique to successfully infuse my chakra and the Bijkinki together, that if Obito plans to betray us with the infinite Tsukiyomi, we would be able to resist and counter it. This is also why he was able to use the 6 dead bodies for his pain Rikidam 6 paths of pain, and how I was able to fight him off and probably survive his gain jutsu long enough to be saved, she said. So in a way you are not a pseudo-Jinchuriki, but a pseudo-Bij, correct, Naruto inquired, and Konan simply nodded. So it's like having a new sister, well half-sister anyways, but good luck if she think we're going to accept her, the four-tailed monkey said, still peeved for being forcibly extracted from her Jinchuriki. Not like it matters, he added in thought, and Naruto quickly explained his plans with Konan. So this is your choice for peace, Konan asked rhetorically, and Naruto nodded. Then allow me to join you, since I have nothing left in this world but our dream for peace, and after that, well, the blonde could see she would not take no for an answer, and she made up her mind on this, probably thinking that it would redeem her or something. Fine, Naruto said, accepting her choice. He had no time to argue as his clone had a limited time before Kaguya notices it being a clone. With Konan Origami Jutsu, I can begin stage 2 of my plan, then finally this world shall know peace, and I shall become the villain that will insinuate it, the blonde thought. Are you all sure about this, he asked the 9 Bijk. Yes, this world has seen enough of chakra, they replied. Naruto, it's finished, Konan said, placing the last layer of the seal and the trap around the area. Good, Konan are absolutely sure about this, he asks, extending his hand. Yes, she answered with no hesitation and grasped Naruto's hand. Naruto concentrated and switched with his clone. Using the telepathic link he has, he ordered the clone to relinquish control of his Susanoo and Gundama. Beforehand you have gotten stronger than the last time we've met, Naruto, she said, hiding her awestruck tone. So an insect has managed to evade my jutsu, no matter, I shall end you along with you, grandson, Kaguya spoke as she charged her own Bijidama. Well, she was the 10 tails in a sense, so she would be able to use such technique, and fired. Allow me, Konan spoke, and in an instant created a massive wall of paper, enhanced by Naruto's own chakra, circulating in her coils along with her pseudo-Imki, and absorbed the technique before it suddenly appeared behind the white-haired goddess. Space-time ninjutsu seal. Something I work on, but never had the chance to do until now. But even so she still managed to block it, Konan said. We'll have to separate the Gundama from her. Does your origami jutsu paper contain any sealing? Yes, but it's for IC, so you plan to use the sealing scroll seal to store Kaguya Gundama into a separated space so that it won't interfere with the trap or the sealing, she said, figuring out his plan. Well, at least I know now who the brain in the Akatsuki operation was, Naruto thought with a slight smirk. They charge at Kaguya, just as she was reforming her Gundama. You got one chance at this, Naruto said, swinging down all 6 arms, scattering Kaguya's Gundama into the air. Before the goddess could recall them, Naruto was wildly swinging away with quick swipes and thrust, forcing her to dodge. This gave enough time for Konan to scatter her origami towards the scattered malleable orbs. Now, each of origami paper enclose all of the Gundama, boxing them, and before Kaguya could react, there was an audible poof sound. Capture complete, Konan declared, successfully storing each and every Gundama in a separated space dimension. Kaguya sneered at being made a fool by these lowly insects and roared in defiance, and in one motion, summoned all the forces of nature and the elements to attack the duo. Good, she's pissed. Normally angering a woman, especially someone who could kill you in one move, was a bad idea, but in this case, Naruto was willing to face and insinuate righteous female fury. Naruto mentally ordered his Gundama shields to block each attack. Is this all you got, Kaguya? You precious technique, the all-killing ash bone is useless. You can't use your dimensional manipulation ability, since I could easily escape it. Your special Gundama is in a pocket dimension to which you can't get to, since it is an artificial one, and any ninjutsu you try won't work. Face it, you are nothing, you are less than nothing, or can you prove otherwise? Konan glanced at Naruto and figured what he was planning to do and said nothing, though she might just have to give the blonde a stern talk later. The guy roared in anger and charged multiple Gundama and fired at the duo. Naruto simple, had his Susanoo dodge each one of them and flew back, slowly leading the angered goddess towards the trap and sealing area. Clone, is everything set? Naruto asked through the mental link. Yes boss, everything is prepared and the other clones are in position. Before Naruto left, he made sure to summon an additional 8 blood clone, taking at least 25% of his total chakra reserves, but since the blonde is considered to be a chakra monster, it was nothing. Guys, this is it. Finally, it's boring not doing anything, Kurumi exclaimed, with her sisters nodding with her. Each Biju were already linked with Naruto's blood clone, since in essence they are him, but at the same time they are not. They could actually take control of a clone of Naruto and give it enough boosts to last longer, as Kurumi found out. Naruto slashed at multiple hill-size boulder, dodged several lightning strikes and wind-like blades, and blocked both a huge fireball and a tsunami, all the while leading Kaguya and continuing his taunts. Just a little more, he thought, feeling himself get closer to the seal. Konan, once we're there, I'll hand control over my Gundama over to you. You can mentally control them like how you control your origami paper. I'll use Susanoo to hold her down, and once I give the signal, activate the trap and seal. Konan nodded and prepared herself. This would be their last battle and the last hurdle towards peace. The reason why Naruto was going to hand control of his Gundama over to Konan was so she could defend herself, not that he underestimates her skills, but he knew it would be the only thing that could defend her against Kaguya's attack if he couldn't convince her to surrender and if she tries to pull a fast one on them. He did promise Nagato to protect her, one that he thought he failed at. At least with this he could defend her until the very end. Be ready, Konan. I'm always ready, Naruto. Naruto smirked as Konan separated herself from the sage's Susanoo and outstretched her paper wings, but then quickly switched her paper to the Gundama and remolded it into 9 majestic wings, while the 10th Gundama was turned into alongside the natural Shin no Tenshi anger of death. Naruto muttered and turned his attention to the angered goddess. So you finally stopped running, grandson, she said, sending down multiple meteorites, smaller ones, enough to flatten an entire country at the very least. Konan acted immediately, sending a volley of paper spears to intercept the falling rocks. Crap, he cursed, he knew it won't be enough to destroy all of it. He quickly molded his chakra into making a chakra weapon. A chakra weapon was something Naruto developed thanks to his Uzumaki chakra. And Uzumaki chakra is unique in the sense that it could be molded into weapons such as chains or swords, something that Naruto found out after his confrontation with his dead mother in the seal. He held the great bow with his left hands and pulled back on the chakra strings with his right hands before letting it go. In an instant, a volley of chakra arrows manifested and destroyed each of the meteorite. Thank Kami, it worked, Naruto thought in relief. The Bond never really used his chakra bow outside of training. You could say it was in the moment that he decided to use it, but in the battlefield a single moment can change the outcome of any battle. Naruto should know, most of the battles he fought got down to a simple crucial moment, and if earlier was anything to go by, he dare say gaining knowledge on how to use his Sharingan Eye was the deciding factor in his and Kaguya's battle. It's over, Kaguya botch, and Naruto said with a smirk on his face. Well, if she's going to call him grandson, then it is only fitting to call her grandma. The rabbit goddess glared in confusion. You must be, to her eyes widened as she and abruptly fell to the ground, and the very ground where she landed glowed in multiple and intricate seals. Her eyes widened as realization, the blonde planned to seal her once more, and she fell for his plan hook, line, and sinker. And she knew it was over just like so long ago, she thought in depression. The white-haired goddess knew she had underestimated the blonde, she underestimated his resolve to fight her, and she underestimated that he would only use his newfound power. And this led to her downfall. As her descendant landed in front of her along with the blue-haired woman, she could only close her eyes and wait the inevitable. Naruto along with Konan landed in front of the defeated goddess. The blonde noticed that black zetsu wasn't in her sleeves. His eyes widened and tried to sense where black zetsu could be, but to my surprise he couldn't. Konan, be on your guard, I can't find black zetsu, he warned. Black zetsu is gone, he has returned to me, he is after all an extension of my will, Kaguya stated. Now that they weren't fighting, she took a closer look at the young men that bested her. The white-haired goddess was surprised when she saw some of her two sons' features. All that the blonde needed were two horns, and he would look like her own son. But this only brought some happy, yet painful, memories of her time with Hagoromo and Homura. I was a horrible mother, she muttered quietly. No, you're not, Naruto stated, having heard Kaguya's word. It wasn't your fault, you were affected by the negative emotion that plagued this world, and the people you saved didn't help, their hatred and resentment, you felt it all and didn't have anyone to lean on for help. You were alone, even when your sons were born, you still felt alone. They couldn't relate to the pain you felt. Oh, and you can, she asks with a fierce glare. Yes, but to take my word for it. Words are hollow. So instead of me talking, I'll show you my pain. Naruto placed a single finger just above Kaguya's Rinne-Sharingan. Flashes of memories flooded the white-haired goddess' mind, memories of the blonde, all the pain and the suffering he endured at the hands of villagers of his home. The loneliness he felt as he cried himself to sleep, all the while wishing for someone to be there for him. The choices he made and things let go to ensure the people he deemed precious to him are safe. In that moment Kaguya realized that she and Naruto were the same. The both of them are hated, resented, and feared by the power they hold. They both were outcast by their very own people they saved, Naruto becoming the Jinchuriki and Kaguya using her powers to stop the war. They were burdened with responsibility they didn't choose or was left with no other choice. They let go of things to accomplish their dreams. And both yearned for someone to lean on to, someone who could relate to them. For Kaguya, that someone was in front of her. If only you existed during my time, then maybe things could have been different. But it's too late, either you seal me and ends this, or everyone you know will be turned to white zetsu, she challenged. So this answer with a nod. Naruto continued seal Fune. In an instant the whole area was blanketed with a bright light, and when it died down, Kaguya was nowhere to be seen. And with her disappearance her Mujin Tsukiyomi vanished, and slowly the people around the elemental nation began to awaken from the slumber. Konan, it's time. The brunette nodded and removed her cloak, revealing her navy blue robe, with a large hemline on the front, and exposed her arms, back, the lateral part of her E-cup breast, and belly, with her navel being surrounded by 4 piercings. Instead of the standard sandals and leg warmers, she wore a pair of blue pants that also functioned as her shoes, with white knee heels. You know, I never did tell, but you look beautiful, Konan said. Person gained a small blush at the sincerity of his word and simply nodded in thanks, not trusting her own voice to convey the appreciated word. Come Konan, let's give the people a show they won't forget, and with that they took to the skies. Soon every shinobi and kunoichi began talking among themselves, wondering what in Kami's name happened. Allow me to answer your questions, mortals, a loud booming voice echoed. Every head snapped upward to the source of the voice, and there up in the air was none other than Naruto, who was looking down on them with like some kind of Kami. Naruto. The busty blonde woman with blonde hair and hazel eyes called out. Yes, Tsunade Senju. You did it, didn't you? It was not a question, nor was it confirmation. She knew Naruto defeated the mother of the Sage of Six Paths, but she needed to hear it from her fellow blonde. Yes, Kaguya Otsutsuki is defeated, and I have gained her chakra. At that everyone cheered victoriously, until as I have all of yours, but don't distress, I left you people with enough chakra to survive and to travel back to your individual homes. His reassurance was only met to cries of outrage. Some brave, foolish people decided to retaliate and fired a wave of elemental ninjutsu at the blonde. But suddenly Konan appeared standing in front of the blonde, her Gundam 9 wings outstretched for the whole world to see, before she curled the left side blocking the attack. Thank you Konan, now disposed of these fools. Normally Naruto wouldn't condone unnecessary killing. But he needed to cement his and Konan's status as a threat they all need to concentrate on, rather than themselves. His original plan was to shoulder the hatred of the people of the elemental nation solely on him. This was the plan till Konan decided to join, and she wasn't exactly taking no for an answer. As you wish in a single motion, 2 of her 9 wings broke off and reformed into multiple medium-sized marble, about 3 inches in diameter, and in a blink on an eye each marble shoot forward, piercing the heads of the fools who attacked Naruto a few seconds ago. Everyone realized how outmatched they are, and they knew it wouldn't help even if they have their chakra. I suggest you people stop any foolish folly against me, but if you must then it started as a chuckle before it turned into a full-blown laughter, then hate me, resent me, and wish nothing else but my end. I who took away chakra from all of you, but no none of you will succeed to make emphasis on this. He fired a beam of pure chakra at a nearby mountain, destroying it in an instant. Don't worry, I won't attack any of you, why should I? None of you are powerful enough to oppose me, nor Konan, so farewell humans. With it the 2 vanished in a flash of light. Left with no choice, each shinobi and Yoruichi departed from the battlefield, all wondering why. Only a few were able to see through the blonde's act and figure out his plan. One of them was a pale-skinned young man with red hair. So, this is your plan, good luck brother Gaara, he spoke inwardly, then he glanced towards Tsunade and walked up to her. You know he planned this, correct? It wasn't a question. The blonde Kage said nothing, only nodded. The Kazekage, stupid reckless idiot, always doing things by yourself, always shouldering everyone's problems, but you wouldn't be Naruto. Take care my son, was her final thought before leaving with tears flowing down her face, saddened by the choice of someone she viewed as a son, but at the same time she was proud of the man he'd become. Despite his harsh life. Unknown location. We're here, Naruto said, stopping in front of massive wall made of vines via teleportation. Naruto used the knowledge he gained from Hashirama to open the wall of vine. There in all its majesty and beauty was the world tree, a massive tree that reached the heavens and roots that dug deep within the world. Naruto Konan started. How did you know of this place? It was thanks to my sage training. You see, Senjutsu allows me to connect and bond with the world itself. It is how I discover that our world is slowly dying, and it is how I discover the location of the original world tree at the last part. Konan looked, for the first time, confused. Naruto decided to explain. You see, Kaguya never assimilated with the original Shinju, it was a lie someone made up. Kaguya, no matter how strong she is, could not join with Shinju. If she had tried, then she would have been torn apart, even her very soul. So instead she used on of the trees here that held a connection to Shinju. Naruto gestured towards the trees that surrounded Shinju. Can you feel it? The power radiating inside each of these trees. He gestured to each and every tree in the vicinity. This is because their roots are connected to the roots of Shinju. It was thanks to these trees that Kaguya was able to turn herself into the 10 tails. He finished. I see, was all she said and followed behind the blonde. Konan admitted this place is beautiful, surrounded by a fresh meadow of green grass accompanied with flowers, some that she hasn't seen before. The forest that surrounded Shinju are of different variety, but she enjoyed the cherry blossom trees that accompanied the path they walk, and the place held that peaceful serenity that this place hold. Truly this place is Eden itself, a beautiful place in an otherwise war-torn and ugly world. We're here. Konan's eyes widened. She expected the inside of the tree was this hollow mass or roots, but not a well. A well filled, but it looks almost empty. It looks almost empty, doesn't it? Konan nodded and turned towards Naruto for answer. I theorized that when Kaguya broke the forbidden taboo, she unknowingly created an influx in power. That influx was how much each individual person received chakra, which is our life force, not to be confused with the soul. The world tried to balance this influx with its own energy, but couldn't. People continue to use chakra to manipulate the elements, furthering the influx, since this took control from the world. The world still tried, but then came chakra-powered machine and artificial chakra, which is poisonous since it did not originate from the world. Chakra pills are a main example of this. Since it did not originate from the world, it could not reabsorb it. You see, when a person dies their body decay and the chakra is reabsorbed into the earth, but the artificial chakra mix with their own and the world could not absorb it. Why? Because the chakra burned up. It is the reason why people only took 1 or 2 chakra pills, because too much can cause chakra poisoning. Another reason why the world is slowly dying. You see, chakra poisoning not only harms a shinobi or a kunoichi, but also the world because of its corrosive and harmful effect. I don't know to what extent, and I only assume the worst because of the world condition. As for machines, they burn up whatever chakra is fed to them. As the years went on, the world tired and tried to balance the influx and absorb what little chakra it can, but it wasn't enough, and the end result is what you see here. He gestured to the near empty well. But by all means it wasn't Kaguya's fault, nor am I faulting her for it. She had good intention, but the road to hell are paved with good intention. He slowly approached the well until he was at the very edge. Once we dive into the well, the world will take back what was stolen, and you want it means, he told her without turning to face her. Konan simply walked till she was beside him and held his right hand to the end, for peace. Even if the morrow is barren of promises, nothing shall forestall my return. To become the dew that quenches the land. To spare the sands, the seas, the skies. I offer thee the silent sacrifice. For Naruto's own last words, he then took Konan's hand and jumped into the well and then nothingness. Naruto's POV. I slowly opened my eyes to a familiar white ceiling. Where am I muttered to myself and tried, the word tried, to get up. But Kringle when I felt an intense pain shoot up throughout my body. Funk I cursed, it seems the only body part I could move was my head. Left with no choice I look around the unfamiliar room, it was simple much like my own apartment, the only difference was it has more furniture. Then I turned my head towards the window and saw a cat, a black cat to be exact. I pray to Kami this cat is friendly like Nibi the two-tailed cat and not like Demon Tora. I shivered at remembering that hellish demon. Though I sympathize with the cat, if I had an owner that would squeeze the life out of me, I tried to reach out with my free hand to pet the black cat, but to no avail. Left with no choice I closed my eyes and entered my mindscape hoping that my companions would have answers as to where in Kami's name am I. I entered my mindscape, which was this large area that caters to each of the Bijk inside me, from the scorching heat of the desert to an open field of meadow, large mountain, and an ocean. It had everything, but to my surprise it was change. Instead I stood in front of a large compound, I estimate it to be about 23 yards, it had a large pond that seems to go around the compound, a flower garden, and surrounded by cherry blossom trees. It seems you're awake Naruto-kun. I turned around to the source of the feminine voice. There standing in front of me was none other than the Kurumi, who was in her human form. A perfect heart-shaped face accompanied with long luscious orange-red hair that reached down her bubbly butt, her crimson slit eyes, and pointy fox ears. She wore a modified kimono that did not hide her perfect voluptuous body, her large F-cup bust, or her mile-long slightly tan legs. Behind her, her 9 tails swayed back and forth as if happy to see me. Kurumi I greeted with a smile. What happened and where are we I asked curiously. I saw her eyes soften slightly. Kid, don't you recall what happened? Try to think and recall. I nodded and did as suggested. The last thing I remember was me and Konan jumping into the well, my body burning away, and then nothing I answered. I see, so you don't recall the fact the Shinju communicated with you and sent you to this dimension. I blink in confusion, and at my confusion she continue, or the fact that the others decided to stay behind to ensure the peace you brought last by ensuing chaos from time to time, so the people of the elemental nations concentrate solely on you. While making sure that any progression they made are not harmful to the world. Then again you were asleep or in a semi-comatose state. So it's no surprise you don't remember the decision they made. Then it hit me like a multiple earth jutsu, or like a train. Wait, how the hell would I know how that feels? I outran that train, and I'm sure that would kill you. Why, I asked, disbelief written all over my face. They wished to give you a second chance, or rather a chance at a life. I turned around to see Kaguya herself, in her usual royal kimono. Oh yeah, I sealed her inside me, so the chakra she took could return to the world, but I noticed something different. Her third eye was gone, which held her Rinne-Sharingan. What was left was a tattoo that depicted the Rinne-Sharingan. But she still has her Byakugan Dijutsu, or what I thought was the Byakugan. It was different from the wider eyes with no visible pupils which the Byakugan is characterized. This one has blue pupils surrounded by a blue and white flower-like iris. Kaguya seemed to notice my confusion since she spoke. If you're wondering what happened to my Rinne-Sharingan, Shinju took it when it sent you to this world. As for my Byakugan eye, it simply reverted back to the Tenseigan reincarnation eye, an evolved version of the Byakugan eye. I nodded. I'll ask before we return to the original topic, what are the abilities of the Tenseigan? Kaguya was silent as if contemplating whether or not she would tell me, but after a few seconds she answered, I'm surprised my son didn't tell you about these eyes, but I guessed he had more present matters to attend to. She spoke, before conjuring up an elegant-looking chair, and sat down before she continued. The Tenseigan allows the user to control both attractive and repulsive forces. Similar to the Rinnegan. Additionally, it also grants the wielder Tenseigan chakra mode, which in turn gives the user an increase in speed, power, strength, durability, and reflexes. It also grants it user Gundama, thus granting the user all 5 nature transformations and yin-yang release. She answered. I was silent for a moment, 1,000 thoughts running through my head at high speeds that would made the Hirshin a joke before I reopened my mouth. Why did you replace it? The Tenseigan could easily compete with the Rinne-Sharingan. So why replace it in the first place? I asked. I did not replace my Dijutsu, since this eye signifies the power and pride of my clan, she vehemently insisted, and I could see she wasn't lying. My guess is when I ate the fruit of the Shinju that my own Dijutsu changed. How it happened I don't know. I didn't look into it or wondered about it, she answered. I see, now back to the original topic. I may look calm, but I was a nervous react on the inside. I didn't understand their reason to give me a second chance. I was prepared to die. I was prepared to give my life, so why would they give a dead man a second chance? Naruto-kun, I love you and all, but you're an idiot. Kurumi started and ignored my protest. The reason why they gave you a second chance is for you to live and to find the joy in your life. You didn't have that in the elemental nation with the amount of responsibility you shoulder. Think of this as your reward for saving your world from ruin, okay? And please for the love of Kami don't overthink things and just go with it. For once she gave me that look and I knew if I protested she would have beaten me to near death, heal me, so she could do it again. So I did the most sensible choice and nodded. So what can you tell me about this world? I was curious. Just where the hell did Shinju sent me? The two simply shrugged and shook their heads. Okay, we'll find that out once I've recovered. Speaking of recovering, why does my body feels like it's been burned? The Shinju took half, literally half, of your chakra total reserve. So my guess is in terms of chakra power you're probably an A rank to low S rank class level with your Rinne-Sharingan ranks basically determines the level of power or danger of a ninja or a technique and the danger of a mission. The level is broken up into 5, A rank being the lowest to S rank being the highest. It is also broken up into tier level with A rank being the exception since this rank are academy students. It is also broken up into tiers, low, medium, high. The highest rank is SS rank, only a select few has ever attained this rank, so I'm a low S rank, with my Dijutsu active, a bit of training, and I could increase my level. Considering I'm in an unknown world, it would be best to train up, I thought. I didn't know the danger or the foes I'll be facing in this world, so I do need to prepare and master my Dijutsu. In my fight with Kaguya I went by instincts and the knowledge I gained, nothing more. I think that gave me the upper hand against her. Add to my suspicion that Kaguya may had grown complacent during her years. After all, if you're the most powerful being in the world and there was no one to challenge you, there would definitely be some stagnation in skills. But there was something I need to know first. Did it affect my chakra coils in any way? I asked. Shinju took half of my total chakra level. On some level, it could have had damaged my coils to a point where it would only stay in half, even if I'm used to fighting with only half of my total power. To my dismay they both nodded. In a way it did alter your coils, to whatever extent has yet to be seen. Kurumi started, and I hope she had more to add. That is good. If not, well, I'll just have to increase my physical capability. From what I could tell your chakra coils are much smaller than what they used to be, meaning you can only increase your chakra to 60 or 70 if you're lucky, percent of your original 100% chakra level. Kaguya finished before taking a sip of herbal green tea that she conjured up from somewhere. From what you told me, my current chakra level is around 50, but in actuality it's around say 60 or 70, meaning I have a 40 or 30 gap that I can fill when I start training again. So my actual rank is around high A rank to low S rank and mid S rank with my Dijutsu. When I fill the gap, my level would be a solid S rank to a high S rank, borderlining low SS rank with the Rinne-Sharingan. It sound confusing, and to be honest it is. What it means I've been nerfed down the level. Oh well, I'm used to fighting with 50% anyways, and this changes nothing. If anything it just gives me more incentive to train. And don't forget the newly acquired ability you've received through absorbing their memory. I almost forgot the memories and knowledge I absorb, years and years of experience, jutsu, and techniques. All waiting to be learned and master. I grin in anticipation, but first I need to work on increasing my reserve and possibly reacquire my former power level. Can either of you do something to increase my reserves? I asked, hoping they would have an answer. Since I'm sealed inside you and my survival is depending on you living, I suppose I could look into something from my clan's knowledge, Kaguya said with her aristocratic tone. Thanks grandmother, I said, teasing her on the last part and enjoyed seeing her left eye twitch. I'll work on your body and don't worry about any sort of negative effect. None of those would never happen, considering I know how your body function. After all, I've been with you since you were a baby. I honestly had no replay for that. It was no secret that Kurumi knows how I work, so it shouldn't be a surprise if she knew how my body works as well. If our session were anything to go by, I can honestly say she knows me better than I know myself, and that's a scary thought a bit. Okay, that aside, did Shinju only sent me here? What of Konan? I asked in concern for the blue-haired origami user, since my promise holds if both of us are sent here in this strange and unknown world, but aside from obligation of an oath, I truly care for her. Heck, I recall how we meet. Flashback in normal POV. So justice has finally arrived to take his revenge, the red-haired man said, sounding much winded. Do you have the answer to my question, Naruto Uzumaki, or did you come here to surrender yourself in person? He finished. No, I didn't come here to surrender. I only came here for my own answer. How come a person like you who was the student under the same sensei turned out like this? And maybe then I'll have the answer you're seeking, Naruto said. So you want to know our pain? Naruto nodded. Very well, I shall tell my our past. Nagato began to tell him a tale of his and Konan's past. Starting of their orphan life, him meeting Yahiko and Konan, the struggles they went through, the hungry nights they spent, the cold, the fear of not being able to see tomorrow. He told Naruto on to when they meet the three Sanins and their time with Jiraiya and how he trained them to the best of their ability. Nagato told him about Yahiko's dream to bring peace to the village of Aim and that the Akatsuki was founded for the purpose to bring an end to the tears of the village. Then he told Naruto about the tragedy that befell the three of them and gave birth to the men standing before him today. On that day I learned that this cycle of hatred can't be broken and peace can't be done. People understanding each other. Nagato stopped for a bit and started directly into Naruto's eyes. Now that you've learned of our pain, do you still believe in Jiraiya-sensei's words of peace? Naruto Uzumaki. How can you be sure that you won't get swayed? But this curse cycle of hatred, he finished. Naruto was deep in thought. Thinking long and hard for the answer he knows he doesn't have, but nonetheless he gave Nagato an answer. I don't know. This got both members shocked and curious, but nonetheless stayed quiet. I don't know if something as fragile as peace can exist in our world, and even if we go through with yours, people would still find a way and start their own rebel group like your friend Yuhiko did. If they weren't shocked now, they are now. Using a powerful weapon and using pain to control everyone sounds the same as what Hanzo of the Salamander did, and it was the reason your friend fought again, the very thing he fought against, Naruto said, staring directly at both of them. So in way you were becoming the very thing he stood against, and that you betray his memory and his sacrifice. But the way see it, he gave up his life knowing that you'll be able to save Konan and continue his dream. To live his life for him. Those words shocked the two Akatsuki members to their core. Naruto was right, they both did betray everything their friend stood for. They were so wrapped in their emotion that they didn't think or wasn't thinking of. I've gone pain, lie you have. I've been shunned away, hated, starved, beaten, stabbed, poisoned, burned, educationally sabotaged. All of that was because of the entity stuck in my stomach. I never asked to be a Jinchuriki, but I can't really do anything about it now, except keep moving forward and not give in to my hatred like you or the villagers did. Naruto stopped to wipe a single straight tear going down his left side, remembering his painful past. I didn't let the past hold me back, and I never gave up, unlike the two of you. If there is such thing as peace, then I'll hold on to it and never let it go. I will lift the curse. If any kind of peace exists, I'll grab hold of it and never let it go. I refuse to give up. Naruto finished. You how did those words Nagato trailed off. It was then Naruto brought out a small book. Yeah, they're all from this book. Hiro Sennin's first novel. He wanted to change the world through his writing. Naruto stopped as he opened the last part of the book. The last page thanks a certain pupil for giving him the inspiration he needed to get started. Nagato, he said, shocking the red-haired man. It can't be, it must be a coincidence. Nagato said in denial. Naruto shook his head, and the main character name is by then. Nagato flashed back to when he was younger and was talking with Jiraiya. In that moment Naruto thought back to a particular conversation he had with Jiraiya. Flashback inception. Sensei, Nagato called out, coming in the small house. What's up? Jiraiya asked. Am I interrupting? Nagato asked, looking over the table that was stacked with some books. Well, I'm trying to write a book but can't come up with any idea. I figure I might as well get something to eat to think better. Something the matter? Jiraiya asked on the last part. Nagato shook his head. No, was just thinking on our talk about hatred being the prevailing emotion in the world, he said. So did you thought up of something? The hermit asked, listening intently. I don't know the correct path any more than you. But someday I will lift the curse. If any kind of peace exists, I'll grab hold and never let it go, he said with full conviction. What's important isn't the way to bring peace, but the inner strength to believe it is possible. Jiraiya smiled at his student's words. I see, very insightful. You may be onto something. Then ideas appeared in his head. You just given me great idea for a book, he said with a grin. Now what should I name the protagonist, he said to himself and looked down to a swirling topping, and his grin just grew. Time skip. After Jiraiya left, the trio went back with Konan comforting Yuhiko. You can't cry forever, Yuhiko, we'll see him again someday, she said soothingly. Nagato slid open the door and stepped inside their house. Once inside he spotted a book and read it. A few pages and he started to imagine him as the main character. Say your prayers, eh? I'm tired of playing tag with you, the shinobi said, taunting the main character. The main character half thinking of his option and look at his palm that was holding 2 smoke bombs. Betting an idea, which probably his last if it doesn't work. The main character threw the bomb at the shinobi. The shinobi eyes widened and he was about to dodge out of the way, but the bomb exploded and smoke appeared. Smoke bomb. The shinobi felt the main character approach from behind. Wah! The smoke started to clear and the shinobi was standing in front of the main character, weapons close to strike. Give it up, he said. Lem tell you something, the main character said. I don't want to hear it. Now die, the shinobi said, stabbing the main character. Why don't you quit on trying to? The main character poof out to make me quit, the main character said from behind, before delivering a chop to the back of the neck of the enemy shinobi. The shadow clone, the shinobi thought as he fell to the ground. Then the shinobi glanced up to the main character. Go ahead, kill me, there will be others, your village will be attacked again, he said. The main character said nothing, causing for the shinobi to laugh. Holy key, ours is a cursed world. As long as we shinobi exist, there will be no peace, he huffed out. I will lift the curse. If any kind of peace exists, I will grab hold and never let it go. I refuse to quit, the main character declared. The shinobi was silent before asking who are you he asked. The main character extended his arm my name is. Flashback inception ends. Is Naruto my name Naruto set out, if I gave up now then it would be a betrayal of not only myself, but to everyone who believe in me he said. Why are you telling me you're not going to change? He asked not believing Naruto's word. Naruto didn't respond and let Nagato continue you have no idea how much pain you will go through. Not change do you really think believing in yourself is going to be enough? Nagato said seriously can you really say that? Can you really trust in yourself so thoroughly? Nagato asked. If you the change main character, then he isn't Naruto anymore. I know I will be facing a lot of hardship along the way, but all I can do is push through it, push past the pain and never give up. That's what Naruto is about he declared. There was a moment of silence between the three of them, then I think I understand Nagato wheezed looking at the blonde you and I are sibling disciples. As student under the same teacher we ought to understand each other. This is what I said earlier Nagato said, quoting what he told Naruto, I meant it as a joke Konan looked at Nagato worryingly, thought the Rinnegan user seemed to be silent for the moment you are a curious fellow to say you remind me of how I once would be lying Nagato continued. I wasn't able to believe in Jiraiya-sensei's word nor could I believe in myself Nagato said. Naruto heard a slight click on the left and right arm brace that held Nagato's hands, I have a feeling that you won't stray from the path you've made for yourself. That's why I will choose to believe in you Naruto Uzumaki. I'll revive everyone I've killed and entrust you my Rinnegan, along with all the knowledge on how to use it, Nagato finished before clamping both his hands together. Nagato must have fully trust this boy. I never seen him like this, Konan muttered to herself as she gazed upon the two, though Naruto was able to hear her, but didn't reply as he was by wondering. What is Nagato planning Naruto asked the origami mistress. Those who possess the Rinnegan are able to use the jutsus if the sixth path of pain and the outer path of pain. Nagato acts as the seventh path his eye technique gives him power over life and death itself, Konan said softly, then look at her longtime friend, you're really going through with this Konan said. Nagato smiled weakly at her as he channeled his chakra yes I'm sure and thank you Konan for being at my side, he said before muttering Jedm. Rin Tensei no Jutsu outer path. Samsara of heavenly life technique. Naruto's chakra sense detected a large number of chakra signature both shinobis and civilian coming back to life, Naruto protect my sister was his last words before his eyes close. I swear the blonde swore. The two remaining shinobi bow their heads in respect for Konan a brother in all but blood and for Naruto, one of the strongest enemies he'd ever faced to date. The scene changed to Yahiko and Nagato's dead body being burned what are you going to do now Konan-san? I would hate to think that you would go back to Akatsuki Naruto asked the paper user. Konan shook her head I won't go back to Akatsuki since Yahiko and Nagato were all I cared about she said. I promised Nagato to protect you, even though I know you could and can handle yourself. But I wish for you to stay with me Konan and help me with something. Flashback ends and Naruto's POV. It was then I showed her my Rinnegan and Sharingan, she was surprised and asked why I didn't use it against Nagato, I simply told her I saw no need to use something I did not earn. I told her I had little to no knowledge on how to use it and didn't exactly trust people with a secret, I got the sinking feeling if I did then I would have been used as a breeding factory. When she asked why I didn't tell Jiraiya, I reply I saw no need as it would proven too easy if I had used the Sharingan's ability to memorize jutsu, since it my belief that strength must be worked towards too with blood, sweat and tears. She relented after 20 or so questions and accepted my offer. Her stay was rocky at first, with people not trusting her, but she really didn't care about their opinion, and during her stay, I got to know more about the blue-haired beauty, her likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams. I spent a lot of time with her, comforted her when she needed help her, etc. I would also notice that a blush would always appear on her once pale face, and I thought she might be sick or something. I asked about it and she told me she was fine so I shrugged it off. I had to admit she did look cute when she blushed and I did like her, but I didn't know if she would ever like me back. Unknown to the blonde Konan developed feeling for him and slowly she came to love the blonde, but was too nervous and reluctant to act upon it. I was shocked and angered that Obito told me she killed her, heck it even turned me to my five-tailed form when I thought she died by the Uchiha's hands. It took a lot out of Kakashi-sensei and Yamato-sensei to subdue me and return me to my normal state, so I was immensely relieved that she was alive and well. So I hope that she's here with me, since I trust her like how I came to trust Kurumi, even with my own life. Before either of them could respond to my question, I soon felt my subconscious waking up, and when I did I mentally cursed damn, I muttered and felt my body wasn't as sore as it was some time ago, and promptly I sat up. It looks like our guest is finally awake a voice said, and I turned my head towards the voice, there sitting in front of me was a lean built with light skin and grey eyes. Despite the bucket hat I can clearly tell the light blonde, with strands framing the sides of the face and hanging between his eyes. And wore a dark coat with a diamond-like patterns along its bottom half, dark green shirt and pants, and carrying a white fan. I could also sense a sort of energy similar to yin chakra, but different from actual chakra, and he seems to be suppressing it. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.